We are live, sir.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Namaste to all. Prostrating at the lotus feet of the Brahmanishta Shrotriya Sadguru, Sri Swami Virajeshwara Saraswati, and the entire Guru Parampara on behalf of all of us, today's discourse on Viveka Chudamani by Acharya Shankara Bhagavatpada will continue with Mangalacharana Shloka. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shri Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakrutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sarvavedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya Harihi Om. The verse or the shloka number 174, it was stopped last time. So today, the verse or the shloka number 175 onwards in the Viveka Chudamani, the discourse will continue by the grace of the Guru. Here, the very profound point to recollect, that is, now Acharya is elaborately explaining the most potent, important Manomaya Kosha, that is, the mind and the chitta complex in our subtle body, which controls all our actions. So, Manomaya Kosha means the mind itself. So, he's explaining, and ultimately he says that even this Manas, Manomaya Kosha, cannot be Atman. It is only Anatman. It cannot be the Parabrahma Vastu. It cannot be the Brahma Vastu, ultimately. So, to continue, last time he was giving the same point which is already there in the Upanishads in the form of the verse. Tasman manaha karanamasya jantoha bandhasya mokshasya chava vidhane. Bandhasya etur malinam rajogunaihi mokshasya shuddham vrijastamaskam. That was the last verse, last time. So he meant very clearly what is already there in the Upanishad. In the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, the famous Mahamantra or the Mahavakya in the Vedanta as it is considered, the famous mantra is there in Amrita Bindu Upanishad. That famous mantra is Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Amrita Bindu Upanishad ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಮನ ಏವ ಮನುಷ್ಯಾಣಾಂ ಕಾರಣಂ ಬಂಧ ಮೋಕ್ಷಯೋಃ. Look, the mind itself is responsible for the bondage or liberation for the human beings. ಮನುಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ಸಂಸಾರದ ಬಂಧನ ಆಗಲಿ, ಇದರಿಂದ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮುಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಲಿ, ಇವೆರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಕಾರಣ. Same point he explained in his own verse. Last time it was covered. Now to continue. Viveka Vairagya Gunatireka Shuddhatva Mano Vimuktai Bhavatyato Buddhimato Mumuksho Abhyam Drudabhyam Bhavitavyamagre. Viveka Vairagya Gunatireka Shuddhatva शुद्धत्वमासाद्य मनो विमुक्तैः भवत्यतो बुद्धिमतो मुमुक्षो ताभ्यां दृढाभ्यां भवितव्यमग्रे. Acharya continues here. Only by the very firm, determined effort of discrimination, Viveka, by proper manana and reflection, the correct analysis, the discrimination, Viveka, that's called Viveka, and Vairagya, the proper dispassion, detachment to the highest possible level about the sensuous pleasures in life. If I become more and more detached, if I develop not attachment but detachment towards all types of sensory pleasures available to me in the life, that amounts to Vairagya. Vairagya, dispassion, dissociation is not an easy thing. It cannot happen in one day or 1 month. It can happen only by our constant effort, self-effort, our total surrender at the feet of the Sadguru, and ultimately by the grace of the Sadguru or the Lord Bhagavanta himself. But it also means we have to sincerely try with a determined effort to develop such a dispassion called Vairagya. So Acharya says here, see, when by firm discrimination, that is Viveka, and uncompromising renunciation, Vairagya means giving up. What is renunciation in the highest sense? Renunciation means tyaga, sacrifice, giving up. So that is called Vairagya. So by constant effort of developing Viveka and Vairagya, what happens? Shuddhatvam asadya mano vimuktaihi, manah vimuktaihi shuddhatvam asadya bhavati. So the mind becomes more and more purified and it becomes qualified for liberation. Bhavati ato buddhimato mumuksho tabhyam drudabhyam bhavitavyamagre. Hence what Acharya says, mind should be always be established in Viveka and Vairagya. He says, look, mumukshu, if you are having a hunger to realize God himself, if you have developed that unsatiable thirst to reach at the Godhead itself, to know your own reality, to know the real purpose of the birth, then with determination develop Viveka and Vairagya. ಸಂಸಾರದಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗುವ ಆಸೆ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷುವಿಗೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಿವೇಕ ಮತ್ತು ವೈರಾಗ್ಯವನ್ನು ದೃಢಪಡಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕಪ್ಪ. ಆವಾಗ ಆ ಮುಕ್ತಿಗೆ ಅದು ದಾರಿ ತೋರುತ್ತದೆ. Hence Acharya says the seeker always should be established in these two aspects in life. Proper discrimination. What is Viveka? What is actually Viveka? What is the discrimination? Means we must understand what is Atma or Brahmavastu or Parabrahmavastu and what is Anatma, what is not. This has to be understood, means it has to be experienced 24/7. It is not simply repeatedly, I have used the words, it is not by simple intellectual book understanding. If you simply say, yes, I have understood, if you simply think, I have understood, yes, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the buddhi, I am not these indriyas or the objects, sense objects, or the sensory organs, whatever. I am not even the ego, I am not ahankara. It is not enough. It is not enough. It should be sustained 24/7 in the mind. in the deeper recesses of the mind, as it's called, deeper subconscious mind or chitta. See, it has to be deeply embedded. All the Vedantins, Mahatmans, stress on this point, talk about this. See, once it is deeply embedded, it will never go away. You will never forget it till the last breath of the body, life. So that's what Acharya calls it here. Then he gives an example, very simple shloka. Mano nama mahavyagro vishayaranya bhumisho charatyatra na gachantu sadhavo ye mumukshuvaha. Very simple shloka. Anybody can understand. Mano nama mahavyagro vishayaranya bhumisho charati atra na gachantu sadhavo ye mumukshuvaha. ಈ ವಿಷಯ ವಾಸನೆಗಳ ಘೋರ ಅರಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಎಂಬ ಹುಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಘ್ರ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ವಿಷಯ ವಾಸನೆಗಳ ಘೋರ ಅರಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಎಂಬ ಹುಲಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನೀನು ಮುಮುಕ್ಷು ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ನೀನು ಸಾಧು ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ಭಗವಂತ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿಯ ಆಸೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಈ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಅರಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಲಿಯ ತರಹ ನೀನು ಓಡಾಡಬೇಡಪ್ಪ ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. So with this example of a tiger, Acharya is explaining in a simple Sanskrit verse, Samskrita. The tiger called the mind is wandering in the entire forest of the sense objects, sensory pleasurable objects. The tiger called mind is wandering here and there in the forest full of sensory objects. A forest called sensory objects. So the mind gets totally involved in those sense objects, in the gratification of the sense, in satisfying the hunger of the mind. Mind is fully involved. That is, we are surrounded by all sensory pleasures in the world. So our mind gets attached. That is the point. So he says, Acharya tells, if you are a serious mumukshu, if you are really searching for the true knowledge, if you are searching for the truth, if you know that you have to reach the real purpose of the life, if you want to be liberated, so look, such a mumukshu or a sadhu or a yati, such a noble person, such a muni who is always reflecting in the mind, who is always doing the manana in the mind, such a muni, such a sadhu, such a mumukshu should not wander like a tiger in the forest filled with sense objects. So that is the example Acharya is giving here. Like, it is sort of a warning to the sadhakas or seekers how we should conduct. The point here is very simple. Acharya is telling all the serious aspirants of spiritual sadhana, as far as possible, you cut off yourself from the outer sensory perceptions of the world, the outer attractions of the world, which give you temporary happiness, temporary pleasure. It will gratify your senses. You get enamored. You get enslaved. You are mesmerized. You are enchanted by the world, worldly pleasures. So, as much as you get away from that. Why Acharya and any other Mahatman say like that? Because the more you open up your eyes and ears, the more you see outward life. When the mind becomes more and more outward, the real purpose is forgotten. That is exactly how the Maya plays the role. By its Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti, the whole world is projected in a wrong sense, and the mind thinks this, what I am seeing, what I am hearing, what I am observing, what I am perceiving, everything is real. So the mind always goes in that direction. That is how the Maya plays the trick. The Avarana Shakti conceals the original, our reality. Our real nature is concealed, completely covered by Avarana Shakti. That's how the Maya plays the role all the time. So Acharya is always hinting at that. If you are a mumukshu, if you are a serious spiritual aspirant, avoid as much as possible your attention to the worldly life. Do your duty and karmas sincerely without involving your mind or yourself. But you must do the duty sincerely. Do the karmas without any expectation. Then the bondage will not be there. If you do any kamya karma, the bondage will come back. You expect something and you do something, then you are bound to samsara. So do your duties correctly, sincerely, precisely, without involving yourself mentally. That is a point Acharya all the time insists. See, it is so difficult. I remember here, a small digression occurred in the mind. Once, one of our closest Guru Bandhus, who is from a gentleman from Kashmir, from Srinagar actually. In fact, a close associate of mine, we know him for the last 25 years. He's a senior Guru Bandhu. Once he told me in detail how during 1990, in the year 1990, by the end, along with the family, with only a few cloths on, he ran away for the life from Srinagar, the valley, Kashmir valley, capital, Srinagar, escaped the wrath of the elements which were bent upon killing and murdering and raping, whatnot, all Kashmiri Pandits for some cause. And came back and settled in Bangalore later. Actually, listening to the stories of atrocities on Kashmiri Pandits during those days, straight from the horse mouth, is so difficult. In fact, you simply not only shed tears, but you will shed tears of blood by listening to what actually happened to thousands and thousands of Kashmiri Pandit families in those days of turmoil, strife, and whatnot. So he was once talking to our Gurudev with some questions. And our Gurudev has recorded all these points, which I am telling you now, in the book called Know Your Reality, Part 1. Gurudev himself has recorded the points very briefly in the book called Know Your Reality, Part 1. Since I was there, I am telling you what happened. I was a witness. And the gentleman from Kashmir repeatedly was asking, Gurudeva, so much I have tried. I am trying to do meditation as per your advice. I am doing meditation and japa as per your advice. You are my only sole benefactor. You are my guru. You are my Swami. But still I feel I have not reached any stage at all. I am at what? Basic level, at the base level. I am still at the same level. I don't see any change in me. Nothing has happened. I have not experienced anything. You are so powerful. You are a Paramatma yourself. You are a Paramahamsa yourself. Why don't you help me to realize I want to see the God? Why don't you help me? If you really bless me, I will see it. I am doing the japa. I am doing meditation all the time. Nothing has happened. My mind is not stable. I know you can do miracles. I know If you bless, everything will happen. My mind will come back to stability. He went on saying that. The discussion went on for more than 20 minutes. I was just a witness. Gurudev went on explaining something, and the gentleman was not satisfied. He was arguing with our Gurudev. Of course, he is a very good ardent devotee of our Gurudev. With that special bondage, he was taking full advantage of that. He was arguing with Gurudev, actually. And finally, Gurudev looked at me and said, Nagaraj, why don't you convince him? I am trying to convince him. He is not being convinced. He wants some miracle to happen today itself. Why don't you convince him? Smilingly, Gurudev looked at me and said like that. Then what to do? Gurudev's Adesha. I turned towards the gentleman. Now Gurudev became silent and a witness. He started observing. I started talking by the clue given by Gurudev. I said, suddenly it came into my mind, the shloka, famous shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, what Arjuna tells Krishna, Lord Krishna, at what answer Lord Krishna gives Arjuna. See, the summary of that point in Bhagavad Gita is, that is in the 6th chapter, it comes in. Arjuna repeatedly, same question puts to Lord Krishna Paramatma himself. Look, with all you say, the mind is so powerful, my dear Sakha, my dear Lord Krishna, look, my mind is so powerful. Now I cannot control the mind. The mind controls me. It is such a powerful indriya. I cannot escape from the clutches of the mind. And it won't remain stable. It's highly fickle. It goes on changing. I cannot bring any concentration. The mind is totally devoid of concentration. So controlling the mind is so difficult, Lord. How to control the mind? How to control the mind? That was a question by Arjuna. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadhrudam. Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter. Arjuna says, he questions, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadhrudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriti sudushkaram. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriti sudushkaram. Look, Lord, just like we cannot catch the wind in our hand, wind is so fast blowing hither and thither. You cannot hold the wind in your hand. Like that, this mind is so powerful, I cannot capture it. I cannot bring in the concentration. Mind cannot stay in one place. It is so fickle. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna, he says. Then smilingly, Lord replies to Arjuna, the very next shloka there. Lord says, yes, you are right, my dear brother-in-law, my dear friend, my dear Sakha. Look, Arjuna, what you said is right. Mind is so powerful. Difficult to catch it. Difficult to subdue it. Yes, it is. You are right. But how it is possible to capture and control this mind? Only by constant practice, and by vairagya. That is the answer he gives. So Lord says, smilingly, Asamshayam mahabaho mano dur nigraham chalam. Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. This is the key phrase our Gurudev was fond of all the time. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. By constant abhyasa, practice, and by constant vairagya, gruhyate, mind can be controlled. That means that is the answer given by Lord to Arjuna, that question. And Gurudev, I explained these two shlokas. Gurudev was smiling all the time, and then he turned towards the gentleman and said, "Look, when I told you, you never listened. Now when Nagaraj is talking, you are listening. Have you understood now?" Then the gentleman said, "Yes, yes, I have understood." So the point here is, Lord, Bhagavanta, Paramatma himself has made it very clear. Controlling the mind, mental passion is not easy. Yes, it is not so easy. Who says it is easy? Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, it is not easy. By then, ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನ ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿಯೋದು, ಏಕಾಗ್ರತೆ ತರೋದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ, ಹೌದಪ್ಪ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಂತ ಭಗವಂತನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲ ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನ ನಿಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸತತವಾದ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ, ಸತತವಾದ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ಸತತವಾದ ವೈರಾಗ್ಯ ಭಾವ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇಂದಲ್ಲ ನಾಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸು ನಮ್ಮ ನಿಗ್ರಹಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳಪಡುತ್ತದೆ. ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತೆ. So the point is so clear and clear. So don't expect miracle in one day or in 1 month. Yes, I have a mantra by Guru given. Upadesha is taken from Guru. I am fortunate that I have a Guru. I am practicing meditation. I am doing japa for last 1 month, last 3 months, for last 6 months, last 1 year, last 5 years. Ayyo, look, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. My mind is same. It is wandering all the time in the world. I am the same person. I have all the attachment. I have all the raga and dvesha. The me and mine concept is always there. I don't find any transformation in me. My mind has not become pure. So, see, these doubts always lurk inside the deep recesses of the mind. Especially when you want to sit for japa or meditation, they will attack you in such a way you become totally restless. For outsider, it looks you are closing your eyes and sitting in dhyana mudra. For an outsider, he thinks that you are holding the beads and doing japa. And sometimes they will be very envious of you. Look, the person regularly is doing meditation. How nicely he is doing meditation. I am not doing. So they become envious of you. But what is happening in your mind? Only your inner mind knows what is happening inside. Nobody else can understand that. That is why Acharya is considerate, he says. By constant Viveka and Vairagya, look, mind can be controlled. Avoid as much as you going out in the outward direction. As much possible, be silent. Be confined to some ekanta, solitude. See, the word solitude is very important in Vedanta. Even Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Maharaj used to say the same thing. All Mahatmans say the same thing. Our Gurudev used to say the same thing. Once in a way, you should be in solitude, real ekanta. If not, at least confine yourself to the home, into your room. Yes. People may wonder, how is it possible? It is possible. In a big metropolitan, big city, in a civilized world, where you cannot go outside, or in a small town in our country called India, where you cannot go, you don't have facility to go, you can sit at your home, in your room itself, confined. Of course, closing the mobile, closing the internet. Nowadays, they will never leave you. You can leave everything, but you cannot leave your mobile and internet connection, your laptop. But it is possible. It is possible if you have got a determined mind. That's what Acharya is hinting at. So he says, if you want to be a mumukshu, really, if you want to know the real purpose of life, as much as possible, let your mind be away from outside world. Stop going out unnecessarily. Stop going to the trips unnecessarily. Stop hunting out for weekend parties, weekend trips, long trips. Stop going into your relatives, kids and kins' houses for small things, sundry things. Stop it. It may hurt people, but it is the bitter truth. My Gurudev told me on 2-3 occasions one wonderful statement. I have kept that in my mind all the time. You know what my Gurudev told me in this regard? He said in the Kannada vernacular language, Bandhugale Bandhana. That is all the words he said. Bandhugale Bandhana. He means your own kits and kins are the cause for your bondage. Gurudev meant it. Your own kits and kins. That means your own people are the cause for the bondage. That's all he said. Rest is understood. Rest you have to decipher. Rest you must know by yourself. Such short, crisp phrases of my Gurudev used to always use when I was used to be with him in solitude. This is what we call personal upadeshas. Personal upadesha is called as aptavakya in Vedanta. So when you receive a personal upadesha, that means only Guru is there. In front of the Guru, you are sitting. Only you two are there. Nobody else, no third person. So that is the importance of a Sadguru who sits and then imparts the knowledge directly looking at you. That is how the grace works. Yeah, I have digressed too much. I'll come back now. Now Acharya continues. Manah prasute vishayan asheshan sthulatmana sukshmataya cha bhoktuhu sharira varnashrama jati bedhan gunakriya hetu phalani nityam. Manah prasute vishayan asheshan sthulatmana sukshmataya cha bhoktuhu sharira varnashrama jati bedhan gunakriya hetu phalani nityam. Acharya says, it is the mind which produces, which generates all the sensory experiences of all the sense objects to the body called jiva. To this body, which is both physical and subtle, called jiva. The mind itself is responsible. It generates sthulatmana sukshmataya cha bhoktuhu manah prasute vishayan asheshan. Asheshan, vishayan, manah prasute. Mind creates, generates all the sense objects, sensory pleasures for the jiva to experience, to enjoy, to receive, to grasp. What are the types of experiences we enjoy? Because of the mind. Sharira varnashrama jati vedhan gunakriya hetu phalani nityam. So this mind itself is responsible for the distinctions in the body, in the varieties of the sharira. Sharira varnashrama jati vedhan, it distinguishes sharira, distinguishes varna, it distinguishes ashrama, jati, vedha, guna, kriya, hetu, phalani, nityam. Acharya says. See, mind is responsible for all these things. What are these things? It is responsible for your varna, to know in which varna you are there. Whether, varna refers to your innate tendencies. The Kshatriya, Brahmana varna, Vaishya varna, Shudra varna, like that. Innate tendencies. Your Sattva guna or Rajo guna, Tamo guna, how they are playing the role in your mind, in your subtle mind, or in your Linga Shariram, subtle body. And it also identifies you with ashrama. Ashrama means whether you are a brahmachari, whether you are a grahastha, whether you are a vanaprasthi or sannyasi, the mind is responsible for such a distinction. And it is also responsible for guna, kriya, hetu, phala. It is responsible for all types of the objects, what objects you experience. And it is responsible for the actions, what you perform, responsible for the results of your own actions you have to imbibe, you have to face. Guna, kriya, hetu, phala, nityam. So, the mind is responsible for all these things. It is responsible for your qualities, your actions, your causes, and the effects of the causes, what you have to suffer later or enjoy later. ಮನಸ್ಸು ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಥೂಲ ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ವ್ಯವಹಾರಗಳಿಗೆ ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಕಾರಣ. ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಕಾರಣ. ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಕಾರಣ. Because these distinctions, what Acharya hints here in the shloka is, in the waking state, you experience all these things. Whether you are a human birth, sharira here means manushya sharira, or tiryak jantu sharira, pashu sharira, or devata sharira. So whether you are a demigod or an insect or a worm or a human being or an animal, all this observation you are doing in the waking state. Your ashrama status in the waking state. Your gunas, whether you are more sattvic, more rajasic, more tamasic, influenced by these three gunas, how you behave, waking state, you experience. What are your actions? Mind decides always in the waking state. What are the fruits of your actions you receive? Again in the waking state, Jagrata Avastha. Mind is so active in the Jagrata Avastha. And also in a dream, it creates its own body and its own characters, its own scenes is there. But in the deep sleep, in the deeper analysis, if you go into the commentary of Bhashyam here, on this shloka, Mahaswamigal says in the commentary on this shloka, but in the deep sleep, in the Sushupti, the mind is totally merged temporarily. ಮನೋಲಯ ಗಾಢ ನಿದ್ದಾವಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮನಸ್ಸೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆವಾಗ ಇವು ಯಾವ ಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅನುಮಾನಗಳು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಡೀಪ್ ಸ್ಲೀಪ್, ವೆನ್ ದ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಮರ್ಜ್ಡ್, ಮನೋಲಯ into the Atma itself, into the self, what happens? Such distinctions are not there. You don't experience anything at all. So that is the point. Mind is so powerful, it experiences everything in the waking state. असंगचिद्रूपम अमुम विमोह्य देहेन्द्रिय प्राण गुणैर्निबध्य अहम ममेति भ्रमयत्यजस्रं मनस्वकृत्येषु फलोपभुक्तिषु. असंगचिद्रूपम अमुम विमोह्य देहेन्द्रिय प्राण गुणैर्निबध्य अहम ममेति भ्रमयत्यजस्रं मनस्वकृत्येषु फलोपभुक्तिषु. अहम मम इति भ्रमयति अजस्रम. The key phrase in this shloka, the key words in this shloka, the third line, aham mama iti ಭ್ರಮಯತಿ ಅಜಸ್ರಂ. ಅಜಸ್ರಂ means all the time, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ. ಅಹಂ ಮಮ ಇತಿ ಭ್ರಮಯತಿ. ಮನಃ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನವರು, ನಾನು ನನ್ನವರು ಎಂದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಭ್ರಮೆ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ಮಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರವೃತ್ತಿಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೋವಿಕಾರಗಳು ಈ ಎರಡರ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವಲಂಬಿತ. ನಾನು ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನವರು. ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದರೂ ನನಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದರೂ ನನ್ನವರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅಹಂ ಮಮ ಇತಿ ಭ್ರಮಯತಿ ಅಜಸ್ರಂ ಮನಃ. ಕೀ ವರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಶ್ಲೋಕ. The mind is always geared up on two aspects of our worldly life. Aham and mama, me and mine concept. Aham means me, myself. Myself, I am so and so. Ahankara, I am so and so. Mind is geared up all the time. All its actions are towards this point in life. For me, what I do, for me only. And mama, next. For my own people. What I do, for my people. That means not for others. Not for others. My own people, my blood relatives, my association with my people. All that I do is only for thee. My life is mainly revolves around two words. Aham and mama. Aham and mama means me and my mine. So, this mind is so powerful, it has bound by the ropes tightly. It has bound what? It has bound the Atma, the real self. The real self, Parabrahma Vastu, the real Parama Chaitanya, the Atma Vastu, mind has bound tightly with the ropes. This Atma Vastu inside is actually Asanga, Chidrupaha, Amum. This Amum means this Atma Vastu is Asanga and Chidrupaha. It is Chitswarupa. It is Satswarupa. It is Ananda Swarupa. It is Asanga. This Atma Vastu is totally non-attached. It is inert. It is not associated with anybody. And it is Chitrupa. Chitrupa means it is nothing but Satswarupa. It is Chitswarupa. It is nothing but pure knowledge. Nothing but Jnanaswarupa. But such a Atma Vastu, such a Parama Chaitanya is totally covered and it is bound by the ropes called Deha, Indriya and Prana, by this mind. Asanga Chidrupa Amam Vimohya Dehendriya Prana Gunair Nibhadya. The mind has totally covered with the ropes of body, organs, and prana. So the Atma is completely covered. It is completely covered with the help of the mind. So Atma remains Nishkriya all the time. It is a pure witness. It is there, but it's totally covered. Who has covered it? The mind itself, the ego itself, Aham itself. Why? Because Aham mameti bhramayati ajasram manaha swakrutyeshu alopa bhuktishu. So the mind disables the Atma by its total covering, and it obstructs the reality with the concept of me and mine. It makes your ego to develop, ahankara to develop, and mamakara to develop. So with the help of ahankara and mamakara, what is happening? The mind is playing a trick. What trick? The mind has covered the reality, real Atma Vastu. So we don't know. See, Acharya is hinting such a important Vedantic point here. Only because of false identification by our ego that I am the body, I am this body. So that ego, myself, me concept, plus these are mine, mama, these are mine. These two things have bound and covered my real nature. My real nature is Nishkriya, Asanga, Satchidananda Swarupa, Nitya Buddha Shuddha Mukta Atma Swarupa. What cannot be explained elsewhere, Acharya has explained, tried to explain. What is this Atma Padartha? Eternal, Nitya Buddha Shuddha Mukta Satchidananda Swarupa, Atma Vastu, Parama Chaitanya. That is a reality. That is the only one. Ekam eva advitiyam. There is no second vastu, padartha, other than Atma vastu. Other than Brahma vastu, there is no second. There is only one. And that we have forgot. Because the mind is creating that habit. The mind is responsible for me and mine concept. With the help of the me and mine concept, it has bound this Atman inside, present, by tight ropes called your physical and subtle body and prana and indriyas. See, that is again, small digression here. In the final Upasamhara epilogue, end part, almost, in the end part of Anugita, the Upadesha given by Lord Krishna Paramatma to the same Arjuna, almost 1.5 to 2 years after the Mahabharata war. After the Mahabharata war, when Lord Krishna Paramatma was about to depart to Dwaraka, his place, Arjuna asks him again the same thing, that Lord, during the Mahabharata war, you had advised me some Upadesha in the battlefield. And I understood then the Upadesha, Gitopadesha you gave to me. But now, within 1.5 years, I have totally forgotten. I have totally forgotten. Now that you are leaving back to Dwarka, now that we are settled here in Hastinapura, now that my eldest brother, Suyodhana, Dharmaraya, or Yudhishthira, has become the Chakravarti emperor. Now, once again, why don't you tell me the same Upadesha of Bhagavad Gita you gave me 1.5 years back? And Lord simply admonishes him. He laughs at him and he chides him actually. It is all there in the Moola Mahabharata if you have to read. People know about Bhagavad Gita. They don't know about Anugita. And Lord chides him. What nonsense and rubbish. What I explained on the battleground, you have forgotten. You have forgotten. Then out of compassion, again, he teaches the same Bhagavad Gita in a different shlokas. Vyasa Maharshi has written different shlokas in Anugita, as it's called. And in the end of the Anugita, one of the famous final sermon by Lord Krishna to Arjuna is, that has to be remembered. You have to remember this in your lifetime. See, the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Here it is there in Anugita. Lord tells Arjuna in Anugita, in the final Upasamhara, look, he says, Dvaksharastu bhaven mrutyu, traksharastu brahma shashvatam. Dvaksharastu bhaven mrutyu, traksharastu brahma shashvatam. Mameti bhaven mrutyu, na mameti cha shashvatam. Mameti bhaven mrutyuhu, na mameti cha shashvatam. That is the shloka, that is the Upadesha by Lord to Arjuna. Means, in short, look, in the entire world, there are two words, only two words. Please remember, Lord is telling. There are only two words. One word made up of two letters. Another word made up of three letters. The word made up of two letters will always lead you to samsara, birth and death cycle eternally. You can never escape the bondage. It leads you to the bondage, deeply bound to samsara. Two-lettered word, if you follow in your life. But if you follow three-lettered word in your life, you escape from this cycle of birth and death eternally. You get realized. You get the Brahma Shashvata Pada. You get moksha yourself. What is a two-lettered word which will put you in the bondage all the time? Mameti cha bhaven mrutyuhu. Mama iti cha. Mama iti. So always if you think that it is mine, they are mine, they are mine. Mama also means, it also includes I. Only when your I is present, mine concept will generate. Without your I concept, mine concept will not generate. So, mama includes your aham also. Me and mine. Nanu nannavaru. Nannavaru andale nanu irlebeku. So, this mama concept in your life binds you to samsara. Na mama iti cha brahma shashvatam. Na mama iti. They are not mine. My own people are not mine. Everyone is mine. That is the concept. It is not that my own people are mine, na mama. The whole world is mine. That is the understood point. So if you develop na mama concept, then you reach realization. That is the ultimate point in Anugita. Lord says that. So that is how the points come in here. So Acharya says here, aham mameti brahmati ajasram manah swakrutyeshu phalopa bhuktishu. So the mind, it creates its own bondage by entangling itself, your body and mind, entangle itself in samsara completely, and it experiences sukha and dukkha, pleasure and suffering all the time till the last breath of the body. Swakrutyeshu phalopa bhuktishu. It, by its own actions, it makes the body to perform actions, and by its own actions, the body, along with the mind, body-mind complex, will face sufferings or pleasures at times, but all the time more and more worries, suffering, and fear as to what is going to happen next, what will happen tomorrow. As the age progresses of the physical body, what happens? The built-in, one of the important kleshas, which earlier Acharya explained, one of the important point will grip the mind. That is abhinivesha. What happens next? What is going to happen tomorrow? And abhinivesha means I am going to die. The concept of death or the fear of death, marana bhaya abhinivesha sets in. Knowingly or unknowingly, in everybody's case, except mumukshus who are blessed by the Sadguru, except sadhakas who are blessed by Sadguru, everyone, whether poorest of the poor, richest of the rich, whether ordinary person or the greatest dictator in the world, whether a common man or a highest political personality in the world, everyone without exception will develop that fear psychosis of death, personal death, and nobody is devoid of that. That is abhinivesha. So that is how Acharya says, Manaha swakrutyeshu phalopa bhuktishu. So the mind will ultimately suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer and die one day along with the body when the Ayusha is completed. With, I think, Guru Sankalpa, 178th verse, I am stopping today the discourse with a short Ram Bhajan. Sri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. 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 Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwara.